In a turn of events, it seems like Phoenix has become the best team in the NBA because of... So as all of you probably know right now, Kevin Durant was just traded to the Phoenix Suns literally in the middle of the night. Now this move shocked a lot of people, but to be honest, I kind of saw this coming. I just didn't think this was going to happen at the trade deadline. Regardless of that, because of one trade, the Phoenix Suns have now become the team to beat. And I think this is fair. Over about a month ago, I made a video on how the Phoenix Suns were falling apart. And that was because at the time, Phoenix was sitting around the 10th seed and Booker was injured and the team overall was struggling and they were under 500, I think. Now, as a YouTuber, I had to title the video something like they're falling apart, but truth be told, I knew this was fixable. I mean, imagine if I made the title something like the Phoenix Suns are in trouble right now, but after everyone recovers from injuries and they do everything good, they're gonna be fine. Like, see, that doesn't make sense. And again, with the trade deadline coming up at the time, there were definitely things that Phoenix could have done that could have ruined this team's chances at winning. And funny enough, that became my biggest video today. But now a month later, in a turn of events, it seems like Phoenix has become the best team in the NBA because of one trade. Now listen, I know a lot of Suns fans are watching this, but I'm not gonna lie, I still think Boston is the best team in the NBA. Maybe on paper you could make the argument that Phoenix is a better team, and I wouldn't disagree with you. However, we've seen Boston do very well and they've proven themselves. Jason Tatum is a great player. Jaylen Brown, who unfortunately is now injured, is a great player. They have great depth. They have a lot of things going for them. But with that being said, we're here to talk about the Suns in this Kevin Durant trade. Now, I didn't even break down the Kevin Durant trade because I was sick while it happened, so let's do just that. So it was the night before the trade deadline at like 1 a.m. in the morning. I was about to go to sleep as my sleep schedule was kind of off and I get spammed with notifications. I'm thinking it's my group chat going crazy about some dumb shit like they always do. Shout out to 2-4 Will, Ja, and X. But it turns out it wasn't them. It was Shams saying that Kevin Durant was just traded to the Suns. And somehow I apparently missed this as well, but there was like a 5 to 10 minute window where Shams said that they were finalizing a deal, but he didn't say what the deal was. And for those of you that don't know the exact trade, the trade was the Brooklyn Nets gave up Kevin Durant and TJ Warren. The Phoenix Suns gave up Mikal Bridges, Jay Crowder, Cam Johnson, and 4 unprotected first round picks with I think some pick swaps. Now at first I was a little heartbroken because I didn't want to get rid of Mikal and Cam Johnson because I truly do love those guys as a Suns fan. I mean, even statistically on the defensive side, you lost Mikal Bridges, who is a great perimeter defender, and Cam Johnson, who's a pretty solid defender, but mostly a great shooter. I knew this was Cam Johnson's very first season as a starter, and I think he did very well at that role. Now, as much as I'm gonna miss those guys, I'm not gonna lie, getting a player like Kevin Durant changes everything in Phoenix. Because there have been trades in the past in literally all of sports where you get a very much older version of a player and they're not that good, they're at the tail end of their career, but you think there's hope. I mean, if you want to use Phoenix as an example, I remember they signed Tyson Chandler to this big ass deal when he was already done. Hell, even Shaq, I think, in the early 2000s. Now, this is a way different situation. You're not just signing the name Kevin Durant, you're getting Kevin Durant, who's an MVP candidate this season. Getting Kevin Durant, which, don't get it twisted, he's getting up there in age, but he's still a very much dominant player. And any team he is on will be in a position to win a championship because Kevin Durant is on that team. And especially the fact he's on a team which is way better than Brooklyn. I'm just gonna be honest, like if we're talking roster and everything else, this team was already better than Brooklyn. There's no telling why Phoenix is now all of a sudden the third biggest favorites in the NBA to win the championship. Now, this isn't a Nets video, but I just want to say real quick that a lot of people are dogging on Brooklyn like, oh, why didn't they get a better trade offer? You know, it's Kevin Durant, Rudy Gobert got like 5 first round picks and a bunch of players. Listen, I just want to say the reason why the Rudy Gobert trade was like as big as it was is because that was such an overvalued trade. Like I know inflation is a thing and eggs like $20, but that's not how the NBA trade market works. I think what the Nets got for Kevin Durant was a very solid package and they were not going to get a better one. There were some people saying, oh, why didn't they give up Devin Booker? Which one, that's kind of why he wanted to go to Phoenix to play with Booker, but 2, I don't think with contracts and stuff that could have actually happened. And you know what, let's give a big shout out to Joe Tsai. He knew that Kevin Durant wanted to go to Phoenix, they talked about it, and he said let's get him to Phoenix. And of course, I think every person knew that if the Suns were going to get this deal done, Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson had to be in that trade. Because if the Suns gave up like 5 first round picks, Landry Shamet, Dario Saric, like Jay Crowder, that team instantly becomes unplayable to play against in 2K. Like that just doesn't make sense if they get Kevin Durant plus the team they already had. Now, I want to talk about something that a lot of people are saying that is becoming an issue with this team, and that's defense. Again, one of the biggest problems with losing Mikal Bridges is that you lost something on the defensive end. Now you got people like fucking Swipe a Cam trying to say, oh, well, who's gonna guard Jokic in the playoffs when the Suns and Nuggets play? I'm not trying to single him out because trust me, I had a lot of people saying this, but let me just say this for the record, and I said this on my Twitter, which if you're not following me, what are you doing? Do not, and I repeat, do not let casuals tell you that Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and DeAndre Ayton aren't good defenders. There were people saying like, oh, Kevin Durant's not a good defender anymore, but that's just a complete lie. In fact, he's having his best defensive season this year. A statistic I like to use to see if a player is good at guarding their matchup is defensive field goal percentage. For example, if the person I'm guarding on average shoots about 50%, but when I'm guarding them, they shoot about 52%, well, they're shooting better when I'm on them. So statistically, it would make me a bad defender because again, my opponent is scoring more when I'm on them. I'm becoming a liability on this person. Of course, you could say there are some flaws to this, but I would like to think this is still a very good statistic. Let's start with Kevin Durant, someone that apparently is not good on defense. Well, his opponents on average shoot about 47.6%. However, when Kevin Durant is physically guarding them, they're shooting about 44%. So Kevin Durant's point percentage difference is about negative 3.6%. What about DeAndre Ayton? Well, DeAndre Ayton's opponents shoot about 50.7%, but when he's guarding them, it's about 49.4, a negative 1.3 difference. Devin Booker, it is the exact same story. His opponents on average shoot 46.5%, but when he's guarding them, it's about 45. Now, I'm not going to tell you that makes all these guys elite defenders, even though I think KD is definitely playing like an elite defender this year. So statistically, I think these guys could definitely hold up their own, and I think when it comes to the playoffs, the Suns are really going to show. A lot of people were saying that Denver was the one team Phoenix is not going to be able to beat in the playoffs, which I think it's crazy that we're already jumping to Denver, but okay, let's do just that. Well, Denver, while I think they're a great team, they have a good offense, they are trash in the pick and roll. And for any NBA coach that is watching this, if you want to beat the Denver Nuggets, here's what you're going to want to do. Run your offense around attacking Nikola Jokic in a pick and roll situation. Oh wait, teams have already been doing that. See, the reason why the Nuggets have been peaking for the past couple years is that teams have realized if you attack Nikola Jokic in a pick and roll, you're not going to be able to lose. At the end of the day, offense does not matter in the playoffs as much as defense does. If you want to go statistic by statistic, you could say the Nuggets have a better offense than the Suns. But truth be told, if we're skipping to the playoffs, I don't see the Nuggets beating the Suns in a 7-game series because of that one issue. All you have to do is expose Nikola Jokic in the mid-range area and you're good, especially when you have 3 of the top 5 mid-range shooters in the game. I cannot make this up, but all you have to do is shoot the mid-range attacking Nikola Jokic and you win. Now, I don't want to look ahead to Denver and say, oh, well, the Suns are already going to play Denver in like the Western Conference Finals in the second round or whatever. But I did want to address that one thing because trust me, I saw a lot of people telling me like, oh, the Suns can't do this, they can't do that. Now listen, it is still early and we need to see things. For one, Shannon Sharp brought up something interesting. He said, listen, Booker's not healthy and nor is KD right now. Injuries could definitely play a factor. Now, at one point, Phoenix was a pretty young team, but that's starting to change, especially when 2 of your best players are Kevin Durant and Chris Paul. But maybe that's also a good thing because Kevin Durant doesn't have to be the #1 scorer every night. Something I keep thinking about is that 2018 Golden State Warriors super team. Now listen, I know all the Warriors fans are gonna get pissed off and leave this video. Listen, hear me out and let me just say this. I'm not saying those teams are comparable in any way situation, but I think it's interesting how KD was utilized. Steph Curry, in my personal opinion, will go down as an all-time better player than KD. I think it's just inevitable. But it seemed like Kevin Durant kind of took over that #1 option role on the Warriors while they still had guys like Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and other great players. Yet what made that team amazing is that they didn't have a set #1 option. Whoever wanted to go off, they could just go off. For the past couple seasons, it's been undisputed that Devin Booker is the leader of this team and he is the best player. There is no doubt about it. Now with Kevin Durant on the team, things are changing. Not the whole leader thing. Booker is still the leader of this team, but the #1 scoring option can be anyone at this point. If Booker wants to drop 40, he can do just that. If KD wants to go off, he can do that. Hell, even if DeAndre Ayton wants to go off, he can do that. If Chris Paul wants to have like 3 points but like 25 assists, he can do just that. What makes Phoenix dangerous is you don't know who is going to be the best player at what time. It is literally a guessing game. You are gambling with this team. Like you had 12-year-olds saying, oh, look at Booker, he's not going to be able to handle double teams, which statistically has not been true ever since the 2021 finals. Of course, there are a lot more things I want to say, but I want to wait to see how things play out. It's going to be a couple weeks until we see this team play together at the full strength that it's going to be, so I want to wait until until I officially say, oh, they're now the best team in the NBA. Because the Nets, they were statistically supposed to be the best team we've ever seen, but look how that turned out. But if there's one thing I can say for sure, it's that Ja Morant saying I'm fine in the West is not true at all. That shit aged so fucking poorly. Every team in the West is like, all right, let's get better and ruin this team. Anyways, this is the end of the video. I finally have recovered from being sick. I don't know if I quote unquote fully recovered, but my voice is the only thing that's still a little off, so please excuse it for the next couple videos. If you guys didn't see my last video, which was the second version of the NBA iceberg, click it right here on the screen. I spent about a month on this video, so I'd very much appreciate if you watched it. Leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and don't listen to Swipe Account.